The Louisiana Restaurant Association presents the We Live to Eat podcast. It is said in Louisiana that a great deal of our culture revolves around food. The We Live to Eat podcast will explore Louisiana's restaurant industry one episode at a time. Laissez les bon temps rouler.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the We Live to Eat podcast, the official podcast of the Louisiana Restaurant Association. I am your host, Quentin, and I have with me a very special guest. It's the first guest I think I've talked with that has their own Wikipedia page, which is very exciting and daunting.
Oh, wow.
She is a renowned New Orleans national, international chef. She has opened renowned restaurants like Bayona and Rosedale. She was the 2004 Restaurant of the Year for the LRA and the 2022 Hall of Fame inductee for the Louisiana Restaurant Association. I don't think she needs any more introduction than that, but please help me welcome Susan Spicer.
Hey, everybody.
Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk with me here today. I'm sure that your career and your life has been talked about to death at this point. So I want to ease in by going at it at a different direction and kind of to keep you on your toes when it comes to interview questionings. So in your career, you've traveled to a lot of different places. You've traveled to California, to Europe, France, Massachusetts, to create these different types of foods and be a chef, but you always end up coming back to New Orleans. And I'm curious, with your traveling, was the goal to bring Louisiana cuisine to different places or to bring different type of foods to Louisiana?
Great question. And I would say definitely both. And I've been a lot of far-flung places. I've had the good fortune to be able to go to Thailand, and we did a pop-up of Bayona for 2 weeks at at a fabulous hotel in Bangkok, the Mandarin Oriental, and it was just an amazing experience. And we did our cuisine there, and then definitely brought back a love of Thai food, which,
Right.
I already had, but, it was a real immersive experience, and definitely brought back a craving for Thai chilies, which kind of built over the period of time that we were there. But I've also, cooked on cruise ships and, up in the Baltics and from Bali to Singapore and through the Mediterranean. And, my mother grew up cooking. I grew up with my mother cooking foods of the world for us. And I've always had a very international palate. And I love learning about other kinds of food, and also bringing New Orleans food to the world, because it's really a universal language and everybody loves talking food.
Would you say that your mother was a big inspiration for you to kind of pursue this culinary career?
Definitely. She taught me a lot of things. She threw a lot of dinner parties, and she always prepared in advance. So I learned the value of mise en place. Being ready and prep. And, she definitely always kept us guessing with the different kinds of, she was Danish. She grew up in South America. We lived in Holland, so she really brought a lot of those flavors to our table growing up. And I'm one of 7 kids, and we're all really good eaters.
DirecTV for Business National Accounts provides your customers the ultimate entertainment experience and the very best content. And becoming a national accounts client gives you the ultimate partner in curating that experience to your business's unique needs and brand standards across all locations nationwide. From exclusive live sports to real-time news and weather, premium content and consistent performance are just the beginning. With the largest support footprint in the industry, DirecTV for Business National Accounts provides a consultative experience like no other. Clients enjoy a relationship defined by white glove service with dedicated account and program managers to assist you every step of the way. From custom content recommendations that will keep your customers coming back to simplified and consolidated billing solutions, DirecTV for Business National Accounts provides proactive and responsive support, partnering with you to create a best-in-class experience for you and your customers. When you become a DirecTV for Business National Accounts client, you'll experience how ultimate entertainment and the power of strategic partnership empower you to create an unparalleled customer experience.
This is Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser. Satisfy your cravings with world-famous Louisiana seafood. All the flavors you love, prepared by our world-famous chefs, and fresh from our bountiful waters to your plate. So head over to your local favorite restaurant and be sure to ask for authentic Louisiana seafood. Brought to you by the Louisiana Restaurant Association and Louisiana Seafood Board. A perfect pair.
And also with Louisiana being kind of a mixing pot of different cultures with a bunch of different foods from all over the place, would you also say that Louisiana was kind of an inspiration for you to kind of explore these other international flavors and cuisines?
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's a great jumping off point, and it's and we have such a mix here already. The Caribbean and Italian and French and Cajun, all those great big bold flavors. So yeah, it's I think the people here are it was always, especially with the Cajun explosion and the black and red fish and everything, people always think Louisiana cuisine was just spicy, oh, it's too spicy. But it was always about flavor and not so much about heat, although I love that too. I really do. I love spicy and heat in all different forms. I love all the different ways that you can add that little touch of heat, whether it's, red chili flakes or Thai green curry paste or sriracha or, all the lots of different things. There's always one that seems to work best.
With all the traveling you've done throughout the years, what is it that always made you come back to Louisiana at the end of the day? What is it that has always drawn you back?
Well, it's home,
right?
So there's that. But I mean, Louisiana in the springtime, like right now, is there's just not a better place to be, I believe. I think when we talk about the seasons, when you've got April in New Orleans and you've got the crawfish kicking in and the crabs and the oysters still going strong and shrimp, of course, and you just got that beautiful spring weather and flowers blooming everywhere. I mean, it's such a fabulous place to be.
The curious thing about some of the restaurants you've opened, and I kind of want to poke your brain about it a little bit, because you opened Bayona in 1990 and then you've recently opened Rosedale back in 2016. The interesting thing is you've chosen interesting locations to open them. One you've opened in a almost 300-year-old Creole cottage, and the other one you opened in a historic police station. Were those on purpose, or was it just what you happened to come across?
No, I've always been, it's kind of like I've always found the location first and fallen in love with the location, and then figured out what would work in that space. Definitely with Bayona. I always said if I was ever going to have my own restaurant, oops, there's my dog. If I was ever going to have my own restaurant, it had to have a patio and outdoor dining, which Bayona, has a beautiful, beautiful patio. And so does Rosedale, actually. Rosedale is really off the beaten path. I mean, at least with Bayona, we were right in the middle of the French Quarter, But Rosedale's definitely off the beaten path on Rosedale Drive, but it's our motto is hard to find, easy to get to. So, before you go there the first time, you're going like, where is this place? But then you get there and it's so easy. It's right off of Canal Boulevard. It's
Right.
but it's just a funky old building, and it was abandoned when I first saw it. And I was like, oh man, this would be like a great little, fish shack type of restaurant.
Mhm.
And then I just happened to meet the man who had bought it from the city at auction and decided
Right.
to renovate it. And we both started fantasizing about putting a restaurant in. The next thing I knew, I was building a kitchen. And that was almost 10 years ago.
And what about opening a restaurant in a 300-year-old cottage?
Well, I mean, that was just a beautiful location, beautiful building. It does have its challenges,
I'm sure.
plumbing, 200 people for starters.
Mhm.
But, it just had been a restaurant for many, many years, since I think, 60s or 70s.
Mhm.
It had been a restaurant that had changed hands once or twice, but I just fell in love with it. It had so much charm and
Mhm.
um, just it was really a turnkey operation when we got it. So everything was there, including
Right.
a $14,000 ice cream machine, which was like my dream. Ice cream
Uh-huh.
was like my very, very favorite dessert in the world.
Mhm.
So, uh, so there were a lot of things going for it, and it just seemed like a really. My partner Regina Keever looked at it and she
Mhm.
loved it, and it just happened pretty organically.
Would you kind of say subconsciously that you're also an attempt to kind of preserve some bit of New Orleans history by taking these old historic buildings and renovating them into a functioning space for people to come and enjoy and things
Oh,
like
sure.
that?
Oh yeah, I mean atmosphere is a huge part,
Mhm.
and yeah, and now Regina owns that building. We had a landlord at Bayona for many many years who's a great guy, John Arbazani. But Regina purchased it. My partner at Rosedale and I recently purchased our building. So
Mhm.
yeah, and our building was an old police station.
Right.
Um, and just a very cool space. They still have, it was like a kind of like a drunk tank, had holding cells. And
Uh-huh.
I've met so many people who either spent a night in one of those cells or who worked there or whose parents, father was a
Uh-huh.
policeman and worked there. So um, uh, Kevin, who owned the building that he bought it from the city and did the renovations. He kept one of the jail cells pretty much
Mhm.
intact, and so it's pretty funny. It's a restroom, but it's so there's a lot of history in that neighborhood. We've got
Mhm.
Holt Cemetery right down the street, which
Mhm.
is it has Buddy Bolden's grave, and it's a really cool little neighborhood. It's a little kind of piece of the country in the city. It
Right.
just a really different feeling, and I love it. I'm so happy every time I go to work there.
With all the different restaurants that you've opened and started throughout the years, what is it that drives you to think, let's try this restaurant and have this type of food, or try this restaurant with this different food? What is it that inspires you to create different outings and eateries with different menus and different foods?
Oh, curiosity, just, and a love of good food and a love of, all different kinds of good food. I mean, gosh, we recently went to Dakar Nola and,
Mhm.
had this amazing Senegalese experience and, but I'm just as likely to go to, you know, have crawfish somewhere, have
Right.
boiled crawfish. I mean, it's just really kind of you know, what's happening at the moment. Sometimes it's spur of the moment. Sometimes it's a planned thing, like um, Chip, my husband, loves raw oysters, as do I. So, we've got a plan this Friday to go with friends to eat oysters to see Uptown Tom at Pascal's Manali, and then go have a steak down the street at Charlie's Steakhouse. And, just sometimes you make plans and sometimes it's spur of the moment, but pretty much any neighborhood you go to is going to have something interesting.
And when it comes to your restaurants, with opening each one, was that kind of a spur of the moment thing, or was your mindset on, for Bayona, I'm going to have this type of dishes in this atmosphere, and for Rosedale, I'm going to have this type of menu and this type of atmosphere? What is your kind of process planning for opening different restaurants?
Well, definitely, what I was doing prior to opening that restaurant has something to do, and the space itself dictates, a lot of that. With Bayona, I had been at the Maison de Ville, the bistro at Maison de Ville, just prior to that, and had developed some signature dishes, and also at Savoir Faire earlier, several years prior to that. But I had a few signature dishes kind of under my belt at that point, like the duck breast with pepper jelly, and the cream of garlic soup, and the goat cheese crouton with mushrooms and Madeira cream. So, so there were things that I thought, oh, these will be good. I wanted Bayona Bayona is a fine dining restaurant,
Right.
and so things needed to meet a certain level of sophistication. But I also allowed myself to bring in a lot of international dishes. It didn't feel to me like it had to be strictly Louisiana.
Right.
Whereas with Rosedale, it had more of a funky local feeling to me. So she said, let me try doing more of this, bring in, dishes from around Louisiana, and things that I really love, that I've had locally that I, want to try. And so, that's where we do the cochon de lait po' boy, the barbecue shrimp,
Right.
shrimp Creole, things like that. And, I like to get P&J oysters and do a good oyster po' boy, and, all other kinds of things. So, I mean, it just kind of felt more, and, wanted to do one menu that we didn't change for lunch and dinner. We do specials, and sometimes we'll do a little more, involved things at dinner time than we do at lunch. At lunch, you got to be built for speed. But at dinner, people tend to, relax, hang out on the patio, enjoy their cocktails or wine. And, we have a great wine list, the wines by the glass, and a really nice cocktail program. And we just try to make the food, we get great ingredients, great fish and shellfish, and, we buy good quality meats as opposed to just commodity products. And, we just try to keep them simple, and just make them taste delicious. And keep the prices, pricing is also something that's really challenging. In order to be able to, something I think a lot of people don't realize about the restaurant business, that even in a casual restaurant, there's so much prep involved, and you've got people behind the scenes working, all day long to get those items together. We make everything. We make our own pickles. We make all our own dressings, and sauces, and bases, and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, there's a huge amount of prep, and that means labor, and then food prices being, really crazy. So my goal is always to try to make it a win-win for the restaurant and the customer, and I really try to set some ceilings on what I charge, and try to make sure that our entrees, are complete, that we have, vegetables that we serve with them, and things, so, but that's a real challenge.
with the career that you've had, I was hoping you could talk to me a bit about your experience working with the LRA and your experience with the LRA.
Yeah, I've always, it's always, I would say my relationship with LRA is that I know it's always there, you
Uh-huh.
know, and it's a really great support system. It's a great information resource on just questions that you have, about everyday
Hmm.
things. They're proactive about uh, restaurant
Right.
issues, loyal advisories, which happen way too
Uh-huh.
often, and issues like that. But also, I know I can go to them with questions about, whether it's labor questions or something that's a tipping issue, or, just any kind of uh, things that I might not have a team in place for.
Hmm.
When I uh, the Hospitality Foundation has been really helpful with
Hmm.
some of my employees in the past. Very, very supportive and helpful in that way. When I've had an employee whose apartment burned down, had another,
Right.
also, just resources for housing or
Hmm.
mental health, or, so I just know I can always go to the LRA with those kinds of questions.
Well, the Bayona's been part of the LRA since it opened in 1990. Were you aware of the LRA previous to that, or was this the time where you were really getting notice of the LRA and getting involved as a member?
Well, prior to that, Bayona was the first restaurant where I was an owner.
Right.
So, it, it was I was able to make that decision.
Hmm.
Whereas before, I was just an employee, a chef,
Right.
but still, uh, that wasn't really my decision. But, as an owner, I felt I understood the value of joining
Hmm.
the LRA, and, having that system, that support system in place, and all all the different things that they enact through the year, all the different promotions they
Right.
do, and so it's not just a resource, but it's also, uh, doing all the restaurant promotion, the things like, what is it, around Christmas time, uh, the uh, the dinner the dinners that they do around Christmas time that they
Oh,
promote.
yes. Yeah, yeah.
The
Hmm.
Réveillon.
Hmm.
Yeah, the Réveillon, and just, Restaurant Week and things
Hmm.
like that. Those are great. Those are great things that you can jump on and get extra exposure, that way.
Hmm. Oh, as we begin to wrap up this conversation, which has been a very lovely conversation, I kind of wanted to quickly talk about kind of the biggest news that's been circulating around you is that you're
Uh,
retiring.
well, it's I guess it's a little bit of an exaggeration. I mean,
I'm sure. I'm
it
sure.
is just means that I'm stepping back a little
Hmm.
bit to allow my chef Allison
Yes.
Birdsall to
Hmm.
take a bigger role. I do tend to try to get, much as I love New Orleans in the springtime, I'm not so crazy about it in the summer.
Right. Yeah.
And as I get older, the heat, takes its toll on me. So my husband and I shoot up north to Maine to get some cool air for a couple
Right.
of months. So I've been doing that the last few years, and so I realized, well, she runs it just fine when I'm gone. So why not let her do it when I'm here too? And so it's fun. We collaborate on things, and we work together really well. And I can just work the schedule that I want to work, which
Mhm.
honestly, it's kind of crazy, but I still love to work the line. I
I'm
mostly
sure.
don't do it at lunch, but I do. I mean, you know, it's how we all start, right? Is
Mhm.
getting on the line and making that food for the customers, and that's still a source of joy for me. So I still want to have that in my life.
Would you say that Allison kind of taking over, it's less of a passing of the torch and more of a natural progression of the collaboration that you two have had as you being owner and her being executive chef?
Yeah. I mean, I always think executive chef is kind of a big title for a
Right.
small independent restaurant. I think of
Mhm.
executive chef more as a hotel kind of, or she's chef de cuisine. She's and she's now a partner as well, along with
Mhm.
Jonas, my front of house manager and partner. So we've given Allie a little bit of sweat equity, and you know, and we feel proud about that and optimistic, and I'm not going to do this forever. I like doing
Right.
it now, but realistically, I mean, I've been cooking 47 years this
Right.
year. So, it's got to end at some point, I guess. We'll see. We'll see. I know there's others that keep going and going. Um, but yeah, I wanted someone for Jonas, a good solid partner for him to take Rosedale into the future. So,
Mhm.
I'm still kicking, I'm still around for a while, but it's just gonna keep going after I decide to step out all the way. But that's a not yet.
So you're kind of in a semi-retirement, not full
Yeah,
retirement
yeah,
mode.
semi-retirement. It's kind of fun. It's, just like I said, I work the schedule I want. I get to be
Mhm.
home, with my husband or go out at
Mhm.
night. I don't have to, I can't, I just got to a point where I just can't do those, 14, 15-hour days
Right.
anymore, and so I'm doing like 8-hour days, and that's easy peasy.
Well, with the long career that you've had and Allison being, I guess you could kind of say one of your mentees throughout this process, what would you say to aspiring chefs and restaurant owners who are interested in this business? What words of wisdom can you give them?
Well, gee. Don't get into it if you don't love it. For
Right.
starters, don't expect to live a normal life, I guess. Although that's getting better, we're trying
Mhm.
to make the restaurant business, the hospitality business, a little more sane.
Right.
But it's been a wonderful career for me. I have loved every aspect of it. Um, and advice, I don't know. They say, how to make a small fortune, start with a big one and open a restaurant. It's independent restaurants are not huge money making endeavors.
Right. Mhm.
So really, I guess just make sure whatever you do, you love it, and learn. If you're a chef, you have to look at the numbers. You have to
Mhm.
try to, figure out ways. I mean, we have a high labor cost, so I try to keep my food costs down. Um, and I'm sure that the LRA offers resources for that as well. There's probably ways that they can help you learn about those kinds of things. But it's very,
Mhm.
it's essential to know the numbers, do the math, and try to you know do whatever you can to make it viable and sustainable.
Right.
You want to do right by your employees and everything, but you got to stay open too.
Mhm.
So
Well, thank you very much for taking time out of your schedule to come and talk to me. I very much appreciate it. This was an absolute blast just to get to talk to you.
well, thanks. Thank you. You made it easy.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for listening. And make sure to tune in next time for another exciting episode of the We Live to Eat podcast.
Great.